Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. Bangladesh is mourning the passing of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, the country's first woman leader and Prime Minister and long-time BNP chairperson, who died today at the age of 80 after a prolonged illness. Zia's death marks the end of an era defined by her fierce rivalry with the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Just days ago, her son Tarique Rahman returned to Dhaka after 17 years in exile, bolstering the BNP as frontrunners, some would say, in the forthcoming February 2026 elections, the first since Hasina's fall. This transition raises questions for Bangladesh's fragile democracy and regional stability. Historically, the BNP has had strained ties with India, often accused of harboring anti-India elements during Begum Khaleda Zia's 2001 to 2006 tenure. Yet recent signals from the party suggest there is a potential for reset, emphasizing mutual respect and equality. Analysts say a BNP victory could test whether old differences persist or mark a new beginning in Bangladesh-India relations amid shared economic interests. Everybody is watching these elections very, very closely all around the world, certainly over here in India. Joining us now, Barrister Tania Ahmed, Senior Advocate in the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. Her father had in fact drafted the Proclamation of Independence of Bangladesh way back in 1971. Shamshed Chaudhry, the former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh. Veena Sikri, the former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh as well. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Barrister Tania Ahmed, just in terms of the loss to the BNP, to Bangladesh, of who has been your first woman Prime Minister, an extremely strong leader, controversial, many would suggest, but strong nonetheless. Does this, in a sense, pave the way for consolidation within the BNP ahead of elections?
One would certainly hope so, but it's yet to manifest. I think people will remember Begum Khaleda Zia, as you rightly say, not only the first female Prime Minister, but also how she joined hands with Sheikh Hasina and the Awami League, which led to the ouster of the dictator Hussein Mohammad Ershad and led to the election of 1991, where she became the Prime Minister. So I believe that would be her legacy. In terms of consolidation, one would certainly hope so. Upon return of Tarique Zia, in his speeches, it was interesting to note that he did not malign Sheikh Hasina or Awami League, which is a positive soundbites. And one hopes that he'll be able to consolidate further. However, we are seeing threats, open threats given to him upon his life. And as usual, the current regime is giving impunity to those who are perpetrating violence and advocating violence, giving threats. So whether it's mob or certain political party which espouses political Islam,
Jamaat-e-Islami, right?
Doing so. Yes. And they are also saying that this, to vote for them would be to vote for Allah, to vote for God. So they are something that they're not permitted to do under the law, nor the Constitution.
Okay. No, and that in a sense represents...
threats are being given out.
Sure.
And no action has been taken by the present regime, which
that
is of
represents the chasm in Bangladeshi politics right now. I mean, you've got... fundamentalist political parties, and you've got those who are secular in their basic beliefs. Shamshed Chaudhry, is that, do you believe, going to define what these elections are all about? The Jamaat-e-Islami versus the BNP, along the lines of religion? For the BNP, it would be an entirely secular Bangladesh, along the lines of what has existed in the past, whereas for the Jamaat, it would be a very new type of politics, a more strident form of Islam, to say the least.
Thank you for inviting me. Albeit it's a very sad day.
It is,
I think, for all Bangladeshis. A housewife who had no experience of politics at all, thrown into the muddy, blood-drenched politics of Bangladesh, having suffered for it under a dictator, as Tania said very rightly, and eventually being elected as the first female Prime Minister. But that did not end her suffering. She has suffered ever since. Now, I think right now, the BNP, of course, is in a state of, taking stock of the immediate post Khaleda Zia. I mean, she has been unwell. She has not been effective on the field for a very, very, very long time. And her son, who has been acting as the chairman of the party, has been running things. So how things will shape, one has to wait and see. But I must say that, a lot has changed. A younger generation has now come into the scene. And I think the need for reconciliation within the country, with the international community, looking forward to mutuality of interest, mutuality of security interest, mutuality of benefits, issues like sharing of waters, etc. All these are things. But these are, we'll have to see how the political parties frame up in the next few weeks leading up to the
No, so you raise an
February.
important point. In fact, I was just going to come to that. And Ambassador Sikri, we've had a very troubled relationship. I use that word deliberately with Khaleda Zia in the past. A large part of the premise of her politics was to hold India at bay, to object to India, to say that concessions, quote unquote, granted to India were unacceptable. For example, I have a quote of hers: "We'll never let the government give a corridor to India. We will resist such an attempt." She even wanted a review of the 25-year Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation and Peace. I mean, that's the bedrock of the relationship. She is accused by India in the past of harboring those, who are anti-Indian, Northeast insurgents. She referred to them apparently as freedom fighters. At the same time, as leader of the opposition, she came to India. She met Prime Minister Vajpayee and I think Prime Minister Modi as well, and indicated a U-turn in 2012. Indicated a U-turn.
Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Dr. Manmohan Singh. So 2012 would be Manmohan Singh and a new beginning. So we've got that past, and I mean, it's been many years, but a sign of a willingness to turn things around. How do you see Tarique Rahman and the BNP now?
Well, I think what you said is right. You have drawn out the difficulty that have plagued the relationship under the BNP government. And of course, former Foreign Secretary Shamsher Mobin Chaudhry was very much the Foreign Secretary when I was High Commissioner in Dhaka at the time. I think that, the biggest legacy of Begum Khaleda Zia, as remarked by Barrister Tanya very correctly, is in 1991, she and Sheikh Hasina together brought democracy to Bangladesh. If Tarique Rahman wants to follow on that legacy, he must insist on inclusive elections in Bangladesh. This preparation for this election that is going on now is just a sham. It's what you can call a friendly fight, two sides of the same coin, Jamaat and BNP. Unless there is complete freedom of participation, these elections are undemocratic and they will never lead to stability. The present violence will continue, the lawlessness will continue, the dissatisfaction of the people will continue. And I think there is a moment now, if Tarique Rahman would like to grow beyond his what he has done in the past and play a role in South Asia, he has to push for inclusive elections. Inclusive, free and fair.
No, but ma'am, I think you make an important point when you say that, the Jamaat and the BNP are two sides of the same coin. That, of course, refers to the breakaway of a faction of the BNP to form the Jamaat. Where are they vis-a-vis the Jamaat, or are they ideologically completely different? And I ask that also because, there have been opinion polls of late which suggest that the Jamaat itself is quite popular. Perhaps the BNP may still be more popular, but the Jamaat is not a faction that lacks popularity per se.
No, I agree. What I'm saying is that, yes, the IRS survey done by the International Republican Institute of America, they are showing a close fight between BNP and Jamaat. And if you add the figures given for the Islami Andolan Bangladesh and the NCP, who are going to be part of the Jamaat portfolio, then they go above. That's right. But that is only between BNP and Jamaat. Where is the inclusivity? Without that, this is not going to be valid. And Tarique Rahman, if he wants good relations with India, has to rise above. I'm not saying that Awami League is going to come to power. The Pratham Alo poll done showed that 70% of the people want Awami League to participate. Not that they're going to vote for Awami League, but they want them to participate so that elections can genuinely be called democratic. And this is what has to be the figure now. And I think that Tarique Rahman is in a position to carry this forward. Otherwise, so far, he has not said anything about the terrible attacks on the Hindu minorities in Bangladesh. He hasn't said anything after going back on that, although he has condoled the death of Usman Sharif Hadi and gone to his grave and met his family. And so we do look to see how do you bring the situation under control in Bangladesh. Today there's complete anarchy, doesn't seem to be in control. And that is what worries India from the security point of view. I think the points raised by Barrister Tania and Mr. Shamsher Mohammed are very valid. But this issue of inclusivity has to be looked at.
Right. And Barrister Tania Ahmed, is that your biggest concern as well? You know, because you hear two very different sides of the story. Here in India, you know, and pointing to very specific examples, there is a real worry that minorities are being targeted. They certainly have been in recent times. The version from Bangladesh is that, no, you know, this wasn't a communal attack in recent times. Somebody was a robber, or this was, it was not related, you know, to the faith of somebody. So there are very contrarian arguments over here. That said, law and order is in a mess in Bangladesh presently. So, I mean, going forward, where do you see this going?
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you, Vishnu. I think what we need to understand, and I'll come to perhaps the difference between Jamaat and BNP soon after this, but the question that you raised is that the attack is not only upon the minorities. Attack is upon women. Attack is upon the Sufis. Attack is upon the Bauls, the indigenous ascetic people who preach through their music. Attack is upon the Christians, the Buddhists. So may I invite you and your audience in India that let's not look at it in a very narrow frame. The attack is upon the Bangladesh. Majority people who are inclusive, who are secular, who are progressive. Attack is upon the artists. Attack is upon women football players. They want to ban football. Girls are being lynched. So this is the kind of impunity that Muhammad Yunus is giving to those who are perpetrating violence. And I've also mentioned that that sort of violent threat has gone after, they've given against Tarique Zia. So that is of concern because we want to see stability, we want to see democracy, we want to see a stable government. In order for there to be a stable government, now Awami League represents about 35% of voters, plus minus. So if BNP were to form a government, or anyone who forms a government, I would like that government to have an opportunity to boast that everyone voted. And we have formed this government, we've got a mandate from everyone's participation. So from the next government's point of view, it is not safe and stable to keep a large party like Awami League and their respective voters. So I would like to look at it not from the right of a political party, but right of voters.
Yes.
If you leave out 35% of the voters and undergo a process, can it be deemed as an election?
Yeah.
And the next government, can they therefore assert themselves or boast that yes, everyone participated? So I go back to the initial point that the mother of Tarique Zia, who also one of our legacy is that joining hands with the former Prime Minister, our ousted Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, and reached out and consensus was built, and they together ousted the dictator in Bangladesh, and democracy was returned.
Yes.
So that, to that extent, inclusive election is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
Without that, the next government is unlikely to be stable.
Yeah. Shamsher Chaudhary, your views on the ban on the Awamis and the argument which was just mentioned right now, that you cannot have inclusive elections without allowing various parties to participate. Do you not believe that that's basically the way an election should be? Allow everyone?
I have always been a very, very strong advocate of people's participation, inclusivity in elections, in decisions making. But if you look at the last 3 elections, the BNP was left out. Votes were cast at night, the night before the day of the polls. 154 members of parliament were elected without a contest in 2014.
Yes.
So we have had this very sad legacy, and I hope we do come out of it at some time or the other. Now, one thing I would like here, because, a death is a death, and a passing away of a leader, of course, is more poignant. I think it would be appropriate if Sheikh Hasina sends a message of condolence on the passing away of her one-time rival. Political rivals are not uncommon in any part of the world. It is everywhere there. And when Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister, her husband passed away.
Yes.
Begums Zia was the leader of the opposition. And she rushed from her home to Sheikh Hasina's home to console her and spend time with her. And the following day was a hartal that was called by the BNP. And Begums Zia said, out of respect for the death of the husband of the Prime Minister, we call off the hartal. Hartal is like band, what you have in India. That's it. Number 2, I wonder, I'm sure all of you watched Rajdeep Sardesai's, I think it was a YouTube broadcast yesterday on attack on Christians and celebrating Christmas in different parts of India. So this is a trend that I think we all, India is a very mature democracy. India has been a democracy for a very, very, very long time. India has been a friend at our time of need in 1971. I'm a freedom fighter. I was wounded in action. So I had my own feelings, and we know that when she was foreign secretary, there were 2 foreign heads of missions who had access to me on the mobile telephone, because I thought we'll have disagreements. This is like very common in all neighbors, especially in evolving situations like that. Europe
So you had High Commissioner Sikri on your hotline, and who else did you have?
There's another ambassador. She was also a lady. And I told Bina that please, before giving me a migraine, please call me up and tell me what can I do for you, and let me see if I can solve it. And in spite of our difference, Bina and I have remained good friends. We have agreed on many occasions, we disagreed on many occasions, but we have a relationship of mutual respect. My take as a former diplomat and as a Bangladeshi nationalist, as a freedom fighter, that constant engagement between Bangladesh and India is fundamental to anything, is absolutely anything. Instead of some media on our side, some media on your side going vitriolic, meaningless, throwing up flames for nobody, it doesn't serve anything.
No, it doesn't.
Serve the purpose.
No, I agree completely.
I come from a border district.
Yeah.
My Dadabari, which is my paternal grandfather, is on a river.
Yeah.
Located on a river.
Yeah.
And that river then goes to Karimganj, where my maternal grandfather's house is there. So my paternal grandfather's house, are connected by the Kushiara River.
Yeah.
And my father said he used to go by river from, Badeshwar to Karimganj and all that. Our relationship is rooted in history and conditioned by irreversible geography.
No, absolutely.
Now I'll tell you one more. I just go back, if you give me 1 second. 2012, I think it was, Begums Zia was visiting London. Tarique Rahman was staying in London. I was in the delegation. I was then in the BNP. And there was an internal group, 3-4 of us were meeting. And this issue of corridor came up, which you raised very strongly. So Begums Zia said, yes, we have issues with the corridor, etc. You know what Tarique Rahman's reply was? This is like 2012, 13 years ago. He said, no, don't say no to corridor. Talk to the Indians, say, okay, of course, corridor is fine. What is in it for us? What are we going to get as the quid pro quo, as the reciprocity? Diplomatic relationship, bilateral relationship between Bangladesh and India always has to be based on reciprocity. We have to have these connections all the time. I think today's talk, I'm really enjoying it, because I think we are talking very freely, very frankly. Raising our voices on any side.
No, I'm just interrupting you now because I'm running out of time, and I appreciate the candor, and you won't find any of the rancor on my programs. We just basically, we want peace in the region. I think that's what binds all of us.
Yes, in Tarique Rahman's first speech, he mentioned the word peace 5 times.
Yeah, he did.
The first thing we have to achieve is peace in the society, peace in the country.
Yeah, those common associations or linkages that you talk about are profound. My own father was born in what is now Bangladesh, served in the Indian Foreign Service, and we sort of lived in Dhaka as well. But we leave it over there. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Let's just hope that the road up to the elections are entirely peaceful in Bangladesh, and that there is a real shot at a proper election that takes place. For the moment, from all of us here, goodbye.